Hey there, YouTube. Been taking care of my mom. She's older and need a little bit of help, so I haven't been able to have a tea time like this. So thanks for joining me. So, what am I thinking about AI? Well, I'm really interested in this idea of how we customize models. You either tune your prompt or you do retrieval augmented generation. That's the RAG acronym. Or you do fine tuning of the model. They're all fine tuning, but fine tuning means machine learning style fine tuning. So just say customize the model, start from there. And the prompt isn't part of the model. So just remember that you can start the prompt with so-called zero shot, hope it's right, and give it a few examples, few shot, kind of like nudge it in the right place, the direction. You can do very complex prompt engineering with weird ways of chaining prompts and doing all these fancy things, but at some point, your prompt can get very long. And that's a problem with the so-called context window. The context window is getting way bigger, I know, but still, at some point, it's like trying to debug a large program. It's kind of hard. It's better to debug a procedure than a entire 100,000 lines of a computer program or prompt. And there's in-context learning, which you could argue is retrieval augmented generation or not. My gosh, there's so much acronym stuff. In-context learning means essentially the model is getting context to learn as it's talking out loud and then finishing the sentence. And so you could argue that's a prompt, or you could argue that's the magical technique of pulling information from vector databases and plopping them into the context window and learning how to like fly a helicopter or learning how to speak like a chef, or if you have enough context, you stuff the context window with good context that you've retrieved from somewhere, you've augmented your generation, and there you have it. It's basically prompt engineering sort of, but it's like prompt engineering with like fresh context being pulled in. There's also subtleties of just like static RAG, where it's like doesn't go anywhere besides the confines of your database, or you have situations where you can let go out to the internet and ingest fresh information. So I don't know, that's called React, I guess. Kind of so many acronyms out there. Someone can correct me in the comments. But anyways, so you got prompt engineering, tuning, you've got retrieval augmented generation. Either it's stuff that's frozen in your database or it's like pulled off the internet. You're augmenting the context for the model. Or there's sort of old-fashioned fine-tuning where you expose the model to a lot of data so it sort of tunes its weights. Kind of like if you ever seen that scene in Clockwork Orange where the protagonist is like eyeballs are kind of like, oh, doesn't look too cool. And exposed images. So you expose the thing to a bunch of lots of data, and it's like, oh, I think I'm gonna behave like the data I've just been flashed in my eyes. And I'm not gonna forget. I'm gonna hold on to that. I've been fine-tuned. I guess going to university is like fine-tuning your model, wouldn't you say? Retrieval augmented generation is like go to class with we're going to take a test with like a crib sheet. It's prompt engineering in college. Mm, if someone's like talking with you and giving you advice. And so you hear the advice in your head and you start talking. You've been engineered a bit by somebody else. It's also learning, teaching. Ah, and as we know, this is all about learning, really. The model needs to learn, and we help it learn. Kind of cool. So I love all this talk about large language models and learning because it's how we learn too. These large language models are not biological like ours, but it's useful to think this way. Anyways, that's my tea moment, and thanks for joining me. Cheers.